Batman v Superman. Now, I got to see this movie last night. It went around 10 p.m. or whatever, and I wanted to show this because I got this nice little Mighty Wallet thing from Loot Crates, the Batman v Superman thing, and you know, it doesn't tear, like it holds up. And this movie doesn't. Like, this is gonna last longer than that movie will in my mind, because I like this better than I like the movie, because it's cool. It's actually pretty cool. I didn't really enjoy this movie. It had its cool moments. I think everyone kind of agrees Batman was actually pretty awesome in this movie. Like, they did a great job with Batman, and then pretty much everything around Batman, which is like most of the movie, wasn't that entertaining. Like, it was stuff that was entertaining, some of it. I caught most of the references, which were pretty cool. They did some other pretty cool stuff, and I'll talk about certain things that they kind of led into for possible future movies, and like hints towards the Wonder Woman movie, which is that's already been officially announced, so they kind of talk about that, or at least hint at it. You know, they say certain things like that. So I'll talk about that during my spoiler video. But going into this, I didn't have like the highest hopes anyway. I was just like, you know, it should be pretty cool. I'm excited to see it. And I heard that, you know, like 2 different times, like it was, you know, critics didn't give it the greatest appraise or whatever. So I went into it, I was like, alright, it'll probably be okay. For me, normally, okay is perfectly fine. Like, an okay, you know, superhero action movie is perfectly fine, because a lot of people hate Man of Steel, but I actually enjoyed that. And honestly, I liked it the most because it had a ton of action in it, because Superman is always doing, you know, one punch here and one punch there. It's like One Punch Man. But it would always kind of bore me, and so when they did Man of Steel and he's actually fighting and they're doing a lot of hand-to-hand combat, and it's not just I'm flying at you and I do one punch and you fly across the city and then you do one punch. I enjoyed that. I was like, that's pretty cool. They're actually doing hand-to-hand combat. We saw like Kryptonian forms of martial arts and stuff, and I thought that was actually really amazing. And then this movie doesn't have that because they don't have the Kryptonians. They just have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Doomsday. So it's kind of like, it's just fighting. Batman versus Superman, when it happened, was actually pretty cool. There was some stuff in there. It was probably some of my favorite parts in the movie were during that scene. And the end scene, they did some cool stuff. The worst thing about it, and this is the saddest fact of the movie, is that it basically did exactly what everyone thought it was going to do. Like, oh, they're doing this too fast, or they're rushing this and they're rushing that. And I think we all kind of held out hope, because it's like we all wanted to be like a great movie, especially if it's Batman versus Superman, and you know, they showed us that they had Wonder Woman in it, so you have, you know, the big 3 of the DC universe. So everyone, I'm sure, wanted it to be good, unless you're just like a Marvel fanboy. And personally, I prefer Marvel, but I'm not like, I don't want this movie to succeed. I wanted it to be really good, and it just wasn't that entertaining. And it's funny, I saw a comment on Facebook, someone mentioned that they hadn't seen the movie, and they're like, I know it's going to be better than anything Marvel's ever put out. And I was like, man, right now, Iron Man 2 is like jizzing in its pants, because nobody gives a crap, because they're going to be like, this is not, you know, that entertaining. Like, Iron Man 2 didn't bore me. And I didn't enjoy it as much. I like Man of Steel better than I like Iron Man 2, but I like Iron Man 2 better than I like this. And it just wasn't that fun. It just wasn't. Like, the first part of the movie, I thought, slow pacing. They did a good job. There was some cinematography, like visually, some stuff in the movie I was like, that's a great shot. They did some stuff, because of course it's, you know, Batman's first movie, so once again we get like his origin. But it was kind of okay. They did some stuff in there, and I don't want to get too specific for anyone who may not have seen the movie yet, so I will describe the scenes once again in the spoiler video. But there was just like some scenes, like in the beginning of the movie there's a scene that is fairly confusing. It's like, okay, that's allowed to be confusing, and once again I'll describe it later, but it's like, that's allowed to be confusing the first time. It's the opening of the movie. Things can happen like that because it's the opening of the movie. We assume we know what's happening, but we don't. And then you do it 2, I guess 3 more times. If you think in a certain way, I guess you kind of do it 3 more times, and it's just like, huh, there could have been some form of lead-in, anything outside of the way it was edited, where it's like, this happened and then that happened, which I knew what was happening because I knew what the scene was. But for anyone who didn't know exactly what that specific scene was, it was like, what's going on? Like, why did that just happen? And there's just no good lead-in for some of the stuff that they do. And then that's what Batman himself, and then so just some other stuff. It's kind of the same thing where it's like this is just like that happened over there, and then we're over here now, but they don't do this until like the end, and then when they do, it's not exactly the most cohesive thing ever. But basically everything everyone had issues with kind of came true in this movie. One thing that's actually very interesting is that, you know, Lex Luthor I actually enjoyed the tiniest bit, and once again, can't say why, but there's a specific thing that he does in this movie where I was like, that's actually cool because that never happens in the movies, and we never really see that happen until like way, way down the line. And of course, with the way they're doing the universe, it's a little bit jumbled because of course Superman is still like brand new. He's like a year and a half older. You know, it's only been like a couple years for him. And then for Batman, it's like older Batman where we've already had, you know, the Joker, and we've already had at least 2 Robins, because if there's a dead Robin, then that was the second. So, you know, the way they're kind of mixing up the universe, there's certain things that they're doing, and then they change up certain other things. And it's, you know, with Batman, they did it right, and then with Superman, you know, people already have their issues with Man of Steel because it was not like, you know, Superman, because of course he killed somebody at the end, he killed Zod. And like I said, I was fine with that movie. There was some stuff that was kind of dumb, like, you know, don't show your powers, let me fly off in this tornado. Yes, that's really stupid, but him destroying the city, I accepted that because they were doing a different universe. I didn't think it was, you know, like they even said it's not going to be like normal Superman. The dad thing is still just flat out stupid, but him like destroying the city and not thinking like I gotta, you know, guide him away or something, I accepted that. I know a lot of people just don't because it's like that's not Superman, even though they said it wasn't going to be from the beginning when they were making that. So I still understand it, but that's sort of a Earth 2 or Earth 3 type of thing, which they're doing in the TV show. So I guess this needs to be like the farthest Earth off. And my girlfriend mentioned she was really glad they didn't put Grant Gustin because, of course, you know, we watched The Flash and I watched Arrow as well. And of course, everybody wanted Grant Gustin because he's a great Flash, and then have Stephen Amell as Arrow and just bring him into the movies. And she was like, I'm glad he wasn't in that. And I was like, I am too, because it would have sucked if, you know, he's like this awesome Flash character, and I was like, oh, great shows, and then he's put in this crappy movie. Just like, it doesn't affect him as obviously as an actor or anything, but it's like, I'm glad he didn't have to even be a part of that. And I was okay when she mentioned, I was like, I'm actually okay that they keep them separate now, because it just didn't work out too well. And it was just like, I'm glad he's not going to be, he doesn't have to, you know, be in this universe. But it was just a disappointing film. Like, it had its good moments, like I said, as far as the action and stuff goes. The ending I thought was interesting. They definitely did something that surprised me at the end. And then it kind of didn't matter when they did it. So I was like, that's really cool. And then it was like, okay, well, that sucks. So there's just a lot of disappointment from the movie, and it's just like, I wanted it to be great. You know, Batman and Superman, everyone, it's Batman and Superman. It's just like with the Avengers, you just want it to work. And technically, like I said, the Batman versus Superman portion of the movie is really cool. It looks cool. You know, the outfit is sweet for Batman when he's wearing the armor and everything. They actually do some really cool visual stuff, because there's a scene in the trailer where he actually, when he pushes him and he's in the suit, there's, after that scene, there actually is a handprint like throughout the rest of the fight, and I was like, that's actually really cool attention to detail, and it shows the differences between Batman and Superman, and how Superman is, you know, like this good character, because, you know, it's like, and that's in the trailer too, where it's like, if I wanted it, you'd be dead already. And, you know, I don't know if it was in the trailer, because sometimes they add extra visuals after they, you know, complete trailers. But, you know, that handprint being there, it was like all he did, that was like I think that was the first thing he did or something, but he pushes him, and then the rest of the fight, just a giant handprint. It's like, that armor's kind of doing nothing for you right now. And that was just a cool little thing that they had in there. Like, oh, this does really, really show how much Superman is really restraining himself during this fight, because he's not actually trying to, you know, kill anybody. And as we know, Batman is just like, yeah, I gotta take you down, and of course I gotta drop nukes if I feel like I need to, because, you know, he's going to be in Superman. But the fight was good. The ending fight, of course, Doomsday was in it. Wonder Woman's in there. The fight scene was actually pretty cool, and I think Wonder Woman, they she didn't have like a giant role. Basically, what they show in the trailers is pretty much, that's probably like 10% of her in the actual movie. So they don't. It's not too shoehorned. It's not like it kind of seemed where, well, everyone thought Doomsday was really shoehorned in. He definitely was. Like, that was 100% just shoehorned. But they actually did Wonder Woman pretty well, where she shows up enough in the film, and we get enough little snippets about her character to know, kind of where they're taking her, and how they're doing certain things with her character and how she fights and stuff like that. So they actually did a good job. I mean, granted, like, she's not in the movie that much. It is still really Batman and Superman and Lex and Lois and stuff, and they all have their little things. It's kind of like it starts off with like just 4 separate stories. I don't know why I'm doing this as I talk, but it's like 4 separate stories, and then at some point they kind of come together like a little bit here and there, and then crazy stuff happens and other weird stuff happens, and then it's like, all right, they're fighting, and then they're not fighting, and then fighting the bad guy. So it was just something. It was like it was a slow pace. At the very beginning, I was like, this is really slow pace. Like, it was kind of boring. I don't know how long it was, but the movie's like 2.5 hours. And I think everybody mentioned that because like it was 2.5 hours, and it was just like, man, there's a lot of nothing in that movie, and it really was. It kind of was a lot of that, and I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it was the dialogue or truly the pacing, but you just felt that it was just like, meh. And my girlfriend was honestly, she was laughing through a lot of that movie because she mentioned, she was like, every 10 seconds there's useless slow motion, and there was a lot of random slow motion, and it was like not cool slow motion. It was just like, if I started moving like this and it was in slow motion, it was really useless. It was like, I think there were literally 4 solid scenes of either someone walking or someone standing still and other people barely moving, like the scene from the trailer where Superman saves the space shuttle. That's, in slow motion, and then the scene with the kind of the Day of the Dead stuff where everyone's just like reaching out to him. And it's kind of like the trailer where there is narration over them. It's a bit of a montage, but and that kind of worked a little bit. But then there were a ton of other scenes where it was like, that doesn't need to be in slow motion. That they're walking. It was like they were just padding it out, honestly, because it would literally be a scene of someone walking for only like not even 10 full seconds, but they did it in slow motion, and it's like all he did was run his hands over some like wheat, and it was in slow motion, and it was like that could have just been normal. He's just walking. Like, he could have saved those people in normal motion or something, but there was a lot of random slow motion. There was some useful slow motions, specifically the very opening. I thought they had a great use of slow motion the way they did that, but as a movie, I would say it's cool to see, but yeah, and I'm going to take this from kind of the gaming community. Wait till it's on sale. Like, if you have Steam, kind of just wait for a sale. Just see it at the Dollar Theater, or wait till it's on TV for free if you don't care, like, at all. But I'd say see it in theaters at least, because it is Batman versus Superman. I can't say just wait till it's at home. It is Batman versus Superman. There's just no way around that. You do have to see that in theaters, because it's just, if you like comics, which, and even people who don't, it's, at certain points it's like X-Men and Spider-Man, Batman and Superman. Certain names, it's just like, you see it. So at least see it at the Dollar Theater, but don't like blow all your money and like, I want to see it in IMAX and stuff, because that's what I wanted to do, but I ended up seeing it normal, and I was like, well, yeah, this is okay. I'm glad I didn't, pick up that special seats and pay like $30 for like some overpriced tickets, and then they really would have been overpriced for this movie. But I'd say see it way down the line, or if you can get it for the matinee prices or something, just get it cheap. Don't go see it at 8 p.m. and pay the full price. See it super cheap. Sneak in some candy. Don't pay anything extra. Just see the movie and then leave, because that's it. Like, you see it once, and then you look up the fight scenes on YouTube. That's really what this movie is going to be. So, I'd say go see it, but just wait a couple weeks it'll probably still take like a month or so. Like, it's still Batman v Superman. It's going to make some money, but just wait. I know there are people that really love it, and people that say like everybody, the critics are wrong and stuff. I don't think they are. I think the actual action of Batman versus Superman was good. The actual fight scene at the end was good. Um, Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, exactly what everybody thought. Not my favorite. Um, I don't know. It was a slow. It was a disappointing film. They had some cool stuff. There's one specific scene, and I'll get into details with that once again. But there's a specific scene in this movie with Batman where I was like, man, he's dropping like I do when I play Arkham Knight, which I thought was really funny. But it was just a crazy movie. Good action scenes though. Batman was actually really well done in it. I would love to see the solo Batman movie, especially if they continue the universe, because they also introduced some very interesting stuff in this movie as well. And we of course have like the Suicide Squad and all that stuff, so they might give us a little bit of info as to where things are for Batman and who he, what partners he has, and whether or not we're going to get to see Nightwing in the future. But solo Batman movie seems great. As far as the next Superman movie, I have no idea what they could do that's going to make it really entertaining or interesting, because they did a really big thing, and so I'll get to that. But just as the spoiler-free review, I'll end it here because everything else is just spoilers. So I definitely want to know, of course, what you guys thought about this movie. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. Um, and I don't know. I mean, after seeing this movie, what are your thoughts on the future of the DC lineup? Because they have, I mean, it's DC, it's, heck, not even DC, it's Warner Brothers. They have the money. They can just be like, they could literally remake this movie all over again and they'd still, they'd still be in the black. So they have enough money. They're going to make the whole Justice League thing. It does not matter. I don't know if certain writers and directors are going to be in the rest of this universe based on how this movie played out, but they're going to continue it on, and I definitely want to know your thoughts on where it's going, what you want to see, and just, of course, what you guys thought about this movie in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.